on today's episode. We're going to be talking about Officer Downe, directed by Clown, and we're going to be talking about the film Y2K, which I feel this is not a spoiler to say, prominently features one, Fred Durst.
Roach Koach
podcast.
But first, we do want to acknowledge that on May 19th, Adam Raimi of the Dropout Kings did pass away. We were very, very saddened to hear this news. We have been big fans of the Dropout Kings for a long time. And I mean, Glitch Gang forever.
For life.
And certainly don't want to make light of it, but we are very saddened to hear of his passing. It's very tragic. We can just say that if you yourself feel that you're going through something, you can always reach out to your people. Always reach out to your people. It can't hurt. It can never hurt. Everyone wants to talk to you. Even if you feel like no one wants to hear from me, somebody wants to hear from you. Reach out to your people. So our condolences to his family. Our condolences to everybody in the Dropout Kings family. We know that they have a record coming all the same. We're sure it's going to be bangers. We're sure it's going to be an incredible tribute to him. And we were very sad, though, that happened. And that's what we have to say there.
Yeah.
But let's move on now. And we're going to talk about it's Side Project Summer, baby.
All right.
And we're going to talk about Officer Downe. Matt, had you ever heard of this film before I had told you about it?
No. I'd never, ever, I did not know this film existed. And yeah, so this was a new watch. I watched both of these movies.
Okay.
From start to finish.
Finish.
Officer Downe was a little tougher sledding, but I did watch it end to end.
There we go.
Yeah, I have thoughts.
So, Matt, I got to tell you, I had been vaguely aware of this film, had never sought it out. And then on Free Comic Book Day, I was at this comic book store in Indianapolis, Comic Carnival, and they had a copy of a special edition of the Officer Downe comic in which the movie was adapted from. It's written by Joe Casey, art by Chris Burnham. This version that I have here not only has the complete comic in it, it also has Joe Casey's original screenplay, as well as photos from the set from when he was making it. I want to let everybody know right off the bat, from reading Joe Casey's notes in here, this was a true labor of love, and he never thought that they were actually going to make this movie. He thought, it was this comic that he made as a lark with his friend. It's a one-off. This was just a one-issue comic. Total self-indulgent goofball shit. He will even admit it. He admits it in the thing. He's like, this is just me just having a blast, being as goofy as possible. At a certain point, though, they were approached by producers Skip Williamson, Mark Neveldine of Neveldine and Taylor of Crank fame. And
Yes.
they said, we want to make this film, and it's going to be directed by one Sean Crahan, a.k.a. Clown of Slipknot. So I read this comic, Matt, and I'm going to tell you, this thing flipped my damn lid. This is an incredibly violent comic book. I mean, on the front cover here, you can see that Officer Downe has all of his guts hanging out of his side of his body here.
Just a chunk of Officer Downe missing.
And the art style for my comic heads is, I would say Chris Burnham is a disciple of someone like, say, Frank Quietly, very detailed, but also not afraid to get real gory. Maybe a little Juan Jose Rip a little bit in his style as well, I'd say. And this comic reminded me of a lot of the Lobos that I read when I was a young man, in which Lobo might kick a guy in the crotch and his entire spinal column would come out of his back. That type of thing. But I would say that when you would read those Lobos, you would have like a few pages where nothing like that would happen, and then Lobo would rip a guy's face off. So you had a little bit of breathing room.
Right, a little balance, as it were.
Officer Downe doesn't have that. This comic is wall-to-wall gore, violence, sex. It's nuts. It's just, it never stops. I mean, yeah, there's like a nuke going off, like 5 pages in. Truly off-the-wall stuff. So knowing that they made this into a film, I was like, how do they match this? So Joe Casey, writer, he also wrote the screenplay, as I said. This film stars Kim Coates of Sons of Anarchy fame as Officer Downe. And the basic premise, I think, is really accurate here. A deceased police officer is resurrected from the dead to continue his war on crime. It's basically a RoboCop situation,
Yeah.
except way gorier, with about 1/15 of the budget of RoboCop, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see why they thought the sensibilities would work out for somebody like Clown, that he would be the right person for this. And Clown has directed
Yes.
some incredible Slipknot music videos. It feels like with everything that Clown has done to shape the visual image of Slipknot, doing some of their videos and everything, he seems like somebody who would have a handle on this. I would say, Matt, and we don't want to bury the lead here, Officer Downe, tough watch.
A bit of a slog. Watching it, some comic book movies, or even kind of movies that are not comic book based but follow that tone and tenor.
Yes.
Invite you into the world. Officers Downe does not necessarily do that. Like, it is firmly of itself, but what it is fully uninviting. It is not a place of which I saw it and was like, yeah, I want to live in this world for the next hour and 45 minutes. It was almost instantly, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No.
It's interesting because for me, a big hook for it was it's produced by one of the guys from Crank.
Yeah.
And when it starts, my first thought was, oh, this has big Crank sensibilities. There's a lot of looks in here. There's some shots in here, some shot styles that are definitely reminiscent of the Neville Dean and Taylor style from the Crank films. But it's like it's missing a step. It's too much and not enough at the exact same time. And then also, it's missing the absurdity. This movie should be truly absurd, but instead, and he brings this up in his notes in the comic, is that they said if we did just the comic as is and just try to reproduce it panel for panel, it would max out at 32 minutes. We needed more to get to a full-length movie. So they add this rookie character.
Holy
and I got to tell you,
shit.
this rookie character, sure, he gets you to full length. He is a stick in the mud. He's boring. He stinks.
He
Get
sucks.
his ass out of here. All I want, listen, just give me Officer Downe. Just give me Officer Downe kicking butt. And
Okay. All right. So this movie, I'm like 6 out of 10 on the Officer Downe character.
Okay.
Like, I want him to be cooler than he is, but they really just kind of were like, oh, he's just a cool 70s cop who also can be blown to absolute shit and come back from the dead. And I was like, okay, I guess. The other thing is, like, the currency of this movie is cunnilingus. This movie is full on oral sex. There's one point in the movie where a police officer is shown from the back, and then a woman pops up from his lap, and a popping sound happens. Yeah. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
How much longer? And I had 58 minutes to go.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did, Matt.
It was like, I wanted to like it because there's a lot of Werewolf Cop. You've seen that movie. Like,
I sure have.
I love that movie. I think that movie does a great job of kind of taking genre and pushing it in a way that's unexpected. Like, it's a werewolf movie and a police movie. They do it together. It's super fun. It's also very gory, and I'm here for it. This movie, like, it's almost like this weird Hitman-esque world that exists where the criminal underground is just run by full psychopaths.
Right.
But also, Officer Downe is brought back by people in wheelchairs.
So that's the serious thing. I would say, with the exception of the rookie character, everything else you see in the movie is in the comic. And it
Mhm.
feels like a lot of the stuff that plays in the comic is lost in translation because
Yeah.
the stuff with the psychics. So basically, Officer Downe, okay, he was a 70s cop. All right. We're spoiling all these movies, by the way. And basically, he's brought back to life repeatedly by a bunch of psychics that they keep in the basement of this police station. And in the comic book, it's sort of like an amped up version of the precogs from Minority Report,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how it's presented. In the movie, it's just like a bunch of people in like suits, and like they're dressed up weird, and they're all jammed in like this room, and for some reason, Officer Downe has some sort of like emotional relationship with them, which he does not have. He does not have in the comic. In the comic, it's all wackadoo. And also, I would say Officer Downe in the comic has even less personality than he does in the movie. But all the attempts to give him a personality in the movie just make him. It gives it a level of pathos that I don't want. Like, I want it just to be a kick-ass fun time. And instead, we have these long scenes where Officer Downe is like, where they're saying, like, is this ethical for what we're doing? And I'm like, of course it's not. I'm here to see him kick butt. Don't.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing ethics into
Who
this?
gives a shit?
Yeah.
I've watched this guy shoot a 45 through a nun.
Yeah.
It's too late to have should we do this conversations.
Exactly.
And like that character, his character, the rookie cop character was just a monkey wrench in the whole cogwork of this is just a badass cop. Because the other thing that I didn't really appreciate is that he had to keep getting resurrected. Because, like, Officer Downe did nothing to protect himself.
No. Zero self-preservation.
Zero self-preservation.
He walks in and they're just like shooting him and he's like, that's no good. And I'm like, duck? Dodge? Sir? Can you even move?
So, yeah. So, like, he shares a lot of things akin with RoboCop.
Mhm.
But, like, where Lewis is the perfect partner for RoboCop because she has all the memories of Murphy prior to this, but also the street smarts and the ability to kind of like help him maneuver through this world. This rookie cop might as well just been a donkey that they wheeled into the scene that went hee-haw every once in a while and they tried to reason with. There was no reason that guy was there. And then the police commissioner or whoever, whatever character that was just like, you're on a thin leash. And what was, there's just, I didn't like it, but I didn't like it because it wasn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, it could have been really cool.
Yeah, it kept getting in its own way in this attempt that it was like somebody gave the note, by the way, make it a real movie. And it's, we don't need to do that. Like, it's weird that it would come from the people who made Crank when Crank is, even though Crank predates this movie, it almost feels like Crank and Crank High Voltage are like answers to like, this is how this is actually done. You don't have to take this so seriously. You can have it be goofy. You can have it be over the top. And also it doesn't have to look, I didn't understand also why it looked so cheap. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah.
Like it had real like sub-trauma vibes, which I didn't understand either. And as someone who's liked some trauma movies, mostly haven't liked some trauma movies, but at least I know why they look the way they do. And this one, I was sort of like, it just felt every day he got to set and they're like, we lost another $1,000. We don't have.
So we kind of got to do this in like weird sepia tones, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of weird stuff and just,
weird choices.
A lot of weird choices that it was like a movie that's an hour 28 with credits. And yet it still felt padded out.
It felt it was an hour 28.
Yes.
That was like the longest hour 28 I have felt in a long time. Because there is a few moments in that film where if it were not doing it for this show, I was fully cashed out. Like, I'm good. I don't need any more of this movie. But I do appreciate like this Officer Downe loves eating pussy and is not just good at it. This guy is like the pussy eating master.
There is an orgasm counter on the screen. That's the thing. Okay, we have the orgasm counter like in the second frame of the movie. So that leads you to think it's going to be this type of movie. If it's
Right.
the type of movie that starts with an orgasm counter. But then it's sort of like, no. Let's talk about what it means to like the ethics of resurrecting this dead cop. And it's like, you had an orgasm counter.
He pulls out his gun, and then like in Doom, it freezes in on the gun and gives you the name of it.
Yes, exactly.
And then like they do those types of freeze frames throughout the whole thing. It was very lost, and it got in its own way too much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to enjoy it way more than I did, because I was like, okay, this is going to be ridiculous. But then Corey Taylor shows up right in the first reel,
Mhm.
and he's just his motives are insane. Right?
Yeah,
like,
he's playing it pretty broad, but I didn't have a problem with him, honestly. I just thought it was a situation once again of, I mean, at that point I was like, okay, this is a pretty broad situation, but I don't mind it. You know, it's just that they blow everything up, and then it's, well, let's bring it back to life, and then also
right, there's
you know,
there's no fucking stakes in this. It's
Yeah.
not like there's a counter of how many times he can come back. There's not anything that makes, so he just fucking dies and he comes back again. So it's kind of stupid. And then honestly, the crime syndicate makes no sense. Clown is a tiger man, lion man. Chris Fenn is there as kind of like a bird man.
Mhm.
Then there's a white tiger lady. And it's just, they're called Fortune 500.
Yeah.
And are they the top of a pyramid of which everybody else falls under? But then they hire, this was interminable. They hire a basically crazy 88s to come in there and take care of Officer Downe, who's then when the fourth wall breaks, it's so unnecessary that it breaks that it's maddening, because the person who's leading that crazy 88s can speak. I don't know what
Matt, you're talking about Zen Master Flash.
Zen Master
Flash, who speaks in, I guess, both
English and let's
French,
call it,
and Japanese.
yeah,
maybe?
let's call it that.
But then
don't know.
He's subtitled, but then they start dubbing him, but the dubbing is like really bad.
Correct.
And that's clearly the joke. Like I can hear somebody already be like, that's the joke, but it's really awful to watch.
Yes.
And it goes on for a really long period of time.
Yep.
And and you just kind of can't take it. And then it's also one of those things, once again, they have a big climactic showdown on a landing on a staircase.
Correct.
And you can really feel
where
like
all the best fights happen.
all the best fights happen. I mean, honestly, I watched that and I was just like, I guess I owe Blade Trinity an apology. Like, you at least fought in a boardroom. Yeah, so it was a tough go all the way through. Having read the comic, I definitely could just see it was just a situation where I was like, I don't think this could ever have really gotten there to equal the insanity of it all. And but I really just learned that you can watch Crank. You can even have one of the directors of Crank sitting there with you, giving you notes. But either you got it or you don't.
Right.
And
you either crank or you're not cranking.
Exactly. And listen, I'm a long time Crankhead. Okay, I've been Crank. I saw Crank.
I know your deep love of Crank.
Crank 1 in theaters, Crank 2 in theaters, Gamer in theaters, Ghost Rider in theaters, Spirit of Vengeance. I rented Mom and Dad. I own a copy of Pathology. Okay, I am deep in the Neveldine and Taylor oeuvre.
Mythos, yeah.
Exactly. And also the other thing was that I knew that they had, like, Pathology was a movie they made that's basically sort of like a Flatliners sort of rip-off kind of movie.
Okay.
Starring Milo Ventimiglia. And I remember watching that movie and thinking, oh, these guys, even as producers, I think they just wrote it, somebody else directed it, but it was like they were able to still get their sensibilities across. It was a fun watch. So when I saw that they were like, one of them was producer on this, I said, oh, maybe this is in the same thing. You know, they're helping another guy get it going. But it just wasn't there. And I could see it trying. Yeah, it was. And the thing is that it's funny is that the closing bit with Officer Downe attacking the guys in the car when he's on the motorcycle The shots in there, big. They're crank shots.
Yeah.
They're straight up crank shots. They're there. One of the guys in that car is Sid Wilson from Slipknot.
Yes.
So you got a lot of Slipknot in there in this movie. And as somebody who
That was
loves,
probably like my favorite part of the movie, honestly,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was like cool.
Yeah, exactly. But once again, it's not quite there. I would say, yeah, if there was a cut where they just completely removed the rookie
Yeah.
character, probably would have been a little bit better. But this
Yeah,
was
because there is a part where the rookie character
Mhm.
who works with the other regular police people that can't come back from the dead,
Yes.
and they decide to they are enemies, but they're at a bar,
Mhm.
and it all comes to a head, and the bartender is going to hit him with his donkey dick,
Yes.
which is just a axe handle that his
Mhm.
mom gave him. And you know this because it's uttered in painstaking dialogue. They then become the best friends that anybody could ever have.
Mhm.
And they are just getting shit-faced at this table. And then they get a call on the radio. And one of the extra cops comes in and goes, "We got to get down there. We're cops." It's like, you're all drunk. You're all fucking wasted.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where it's like they're cutting away from Officer Downe. Just show me Officer Downe. Just show me
Just-
his stuff.
You've got RoboCop, and you're like, you know what I don't want to show you? RoboCop. It was maddening. It was maddening. Did you see
Yeah.
the post-credit sequence?
I watched it to the very end, Matt.
Oh, baby, so did I. I knew
Yeah.
there was going to be a post-credit sequence.
Gotta be a post-credit sequence. I'll be honest, I don't remember what happened, but I know I
Oh.
watched it.
Oh, well, considering I finished this movie 40 minutes ago, I will tell you that it was, in fact, a voice, a disembodied voice in a, I guess, Arkham Asylum type level of the jail, the cop HQ, the police department. And you hear the voices go, "There was one before Downe? There was somebody else who did this? Well, there's always an alpha before the beta. There's always there's
wow.
somebody else in that basement who's been through it." And then you just hear rah rah rah. And I guess we'll never find out because there's
We'll
no
never know.
plan for Officer Downe 2.
No, according to the Wikipedia, this movie did $850. There's 2 citations stating this movie made $850. So there you go.
Labor of love.
Labor of love. I watched it on the Hoopla app, which you get through your local library. Highly recommend the Hoopla app.
Well, I got to tell you,
mhm.
they just made $854 because I rented this motherfucker.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. I do recommend the comic, especially if you are somebody who enjoys Lobo or you enjoy very detailed gore. I do recommend that. But I'm saying if you want to get a crank fix, you can't beat the original recipe.
Do have a question for you.
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by Roach Koach. Roach Koach is on Patreon, patreon.com/Roach Koach Podcast. There you will find episodes of The Pact and our forthcoming news series, The Crack, the Butt
Crack.
Rock Bracket. And I do have to ask you, is the theme to Officer Downe up for Butt Rock Bracket territory?
Matt, I got to tell you that the music in this film was way worse than I expected.
Yes, it was very bad.
Considering that it was
Clown.
made by Clown, who is, last I checked, one of the most important members of Slipknot, a band that has a lot of good songs.
Yep.
I was really kind of taken aback by how bad all of the music was, consistently across the board. And I remember at one point I said, clearly his calling is the bat to the barrel. That
That's
is
it.
where he does it. He is
Keeping 9 people together and the bat
Yes.
to the barrel.
Bat to the barrel is what his true calling is. I will say also that I was like, should I judge Corey Taylor's acting based just on this performance right here? Should I give him another chance in something else? He is going straight up Joker
Yes.
when he's doing this. but it seemed like
He's dressed like a character from Dick Tracy,
yes,
but he's going straight Joker.
he's going straight Joker. Yeah, it's a real wacky performance, but it was nice. Like every time I saw somebody that I recognized from Slipknot, I was like, well, that's nice. I like that. That's nice that everybody showed up to be in the movie. So there you go. I do want to also mention, yeah, so Joe Casey, as a comic book writer, he also wrote Uncanny X-Men for a long time, which I did read. He also did Wildcats 3.0, and he also co-created Ben 10.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yes. And so yeah, so he's somebody who I've read many a comic by. He did a real famous run on cable. So yeah, he's somebody that I enjoyed a lot of his comics back in the day. Oh, he did the Children of the Atom miniseries, which is a pretty good one, and he did they did a reboot of Deathlock in the late '90s. He did that with Leonardo Manco and Eric Canete. Read those when I was a teenage boy, and I enjoyed those quite a bit, and I still have them in my collection. Leonardo Manco, that was a guy. Let me tell you, when I was deep in my comics, there would be guys that would come up and be like, "This is the guy. Here he comes," and they do 3 or 4 issues of a comic, and you're like, and then they leave, and you're like, "Oh, because they're gonna do something bigger and better and better," and then you never fucking see them again, or they don't do anything. They go off somewhere, and you're like, "Where did they go? What happened?" You know?
He-
I don't have any other Leonardo Manco comics. Yeah. It just happens. There's just some guys. I mean, the one I always think of is like Ed McGuinness, who was a guy that I knew from he did early Deadpool stuff. And then he left Deadpool and I was like, what's he gonna do? And he like jumped to do like Fighting American, which was like a ripoff
Mm.
of Captain America. I was like, I don't want to read this shit. Get this out of here. And eventually I don't know, I think he did some World's Finest Batman Superman stuff, but I was kind of out at that point. Anyway, I am off track. That was a little comic talk for you. Matt, we are also talking about on the Side Project Summer, we're also talking about the film Y2K.
Y2K.
Y2K is a Kyle Mooney joint. Came out this year, right? I think it came out this year.
I would say at this point it came out at the end of last year.
Oh, that's right. It came out at the end of last year. Oh, I didn't know this. It was a South by Southwest 2024 premiere. Okay. Yeah, directed by Kyle Mooney from SNL, written by Kyle Mooney and Evan Winter, starring Rachel Zegler, Julian Dennison, Jaden Martell, the Kid Leroy, Mason Gooding, and Fred Durst. This film takes place on New Year's Eve 1999, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
in which the Y2K virus occurs. And unlike when you and I were young men
Yes.
at Y2K, in which nothing happened, but the rumor was that everything was going to stop working.
Correct, because computers would think that it was 1900.
Exactly. But instead, in this film, the computers come alive and they start killing people.
Correct.
Now, I can say that when I started this film, I'm going to say, first off, I'm a Kyle Mooney skeptic. I kind of don't always, there's this touch of anti-humor to his style
Very much so.
that I often think, is this funny or is this just bad? And when I was watching this movie, I was really struck by how unfunny I found it to be and how it seemed to be really earnest when I didn't want it to be earnest. And that it seemed like they wanted to they were getting a lot of interesting period details right. But then sometimes they would get them wrong.
Yes.
And then at a certain point they were like, well, now we're just going to put everybody in the forest. And I would say that this movie felt like a true squandered premise. Like I feel like this could have been like a film that I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, take me back to high school." And instead I was like, this is they ran out of ideas and they were like, I guess everybody goes to the forest now. I didn't understand. But the most important is that the Y2K happens, the robots come alive, these kids run away, they go and they run around for a while, and they finally go in this video store, and they find in the video store one Fred Durst, hiding out because they were doing a New Year's Eve performance and the robots came alive and they killed everybody in the band. Fred, I think, highlight of the film.
He's very good in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him here and there in other things, and I feel like he absolutely captured Fred Durst.
Yes. Yeah. I don't want to see Fred Durst play someone who's not Fred Durst. But him,
Yeah.
Fred Durst playing Fred Durst, perfect.
The moment you see him and the way that he recollects the story, he does. You instantly are on his side.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that at the end of the movie there is a performance by him that is met with deriding him and being like, "You stink, Fred Durst," and him just kind of being like, "Yeah, well, I'm doing it anyway," is true Limp Bizkit style.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a real sweet moment where I'm guessing it really was West Borland.
I believe it is actually West Borland in the film because there's a shot of, so in the film, those robots, this is where things get confusing. When the robots start attacking at the beginning of the film, they're just killing everybody. And it's really graphic. They're killing these kids. Like they're drilling out heads, they're stabbing, they're blowing people up. It's pretty graphic. So I thought, okay, this is what we're in for. But then they start microchipping
wanting
people?
to assimilate the rest.
Yeah.
Herd up and assimilate.
Didn't make any sense to me. Didn't understand why that was a thing. Also, can we just say plot-wise, killing the best friend was like the biggest mistake? Like, why did they do that?
There
was no reason to do that. I didn't understand it at all. It made what could have been just like a romp now like a huge bummer. Because then you even had a scene at the end. When I watched this, with him, the main character having to go to the mom of his best friend and be like, "Sorry, your son is dead." I was like, what is this? I thought this was like a romp. We're not really dealing with... Could you imagine at the end of Scream, freaking Nev Campbell being like, "Well, now I got to drive around and talk to everybody's parents of their dead kids." You're like, what?
Yep.
No.
Just gotta go say sorry
real quick.
And my boyfriend was real weird.
Yeah, very strange tonal choices.
That was... Why would you take the fun out of the movie? Like,
no sense.
That really made no sense. Like, Kyle Mooney dying? Sure. Unnecessary character.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was necessary in that triumvirate of characters, and then they're just like, "Oh no, we're gonna kill the best friend because that's what's gonna give them motivation." No.
And then honestly, I found that the main character guy was like, I don't know. He seemed like too bland.
Yeah, he was way too fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I was like, and it's funny because we come from a long era of bland white guy protagonists in these teen comedies, but you at least get something about him. Jim from American Pie. What's his name? Michael Cera in Superbad.
Yeah.
Even, and this is more of a deep cut, but Jay Baruchel on Undeclared.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, right? These characters, they're losers and they're kind of lame, but you get a little bit about why you like them. I couldn't really tell why Julian Dennison, the best friend, was friends with this guy because it just didn't make any sense. He was
kind of sucks.
Yeah, your friend kind of sucks. He seems like not that interesting. And also, it was another thing where you watch these movies and it's always you want to root for him to get the girl. And I was like, Rachel Zegler can do better than this guy.
Way better than this guy.
This is not. About? Yeah, what are we talking about? There's nothing. This guy's bringing nothing to the table. He doesn't even seem like he has much in the way of interests. I just didn't.
Well, like when you watch Michael Cera in Superbad, you're like, he's charming. Like he's a goof, he's aloof, he's weird, but he's got a charisma where Eli, the character's name in this movie, doesn't have.
He doesn't have it.
And Rachel Zegler is, she's doing the best she can with what she's given, but like her character arc is whisper thin. Is she supposed to be the bad girl, or is she supposed to be like the smartest girl that's just pretending to be, fitting
Right.
in with?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of like preps and nerd dichotomy that was
Right.
just like washed away with, well, I'm a nerd too because I like
Yeah.
computers, and it's
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But right, and then we're getting away
What
from
was
Fred
that?
Durst.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
One more thing before we get back to the savior
Oh,
of
no.
the film, Fred
Yeah.
Durst. They got so much of the 90s stuff right.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I was just like, you just made the 90s just the 90s, is that it was 1999 going into 2000.
Correct.
And they're driving down the street, and a family is doing the Macarena outside. And I was like, no, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
Macarena was already done. Yeah.
Been done.
Been done.
1995 done.
How about this one? So this is what I watched this movie with Amy, and she was like, why are they singing Tub Thumping in the forest? They wouldn't. At
No
that
way.
point,
In 1999?
at that point, it's 2000. We're talking an hour into 2000. They're not singing Tub Thumping. What? Now, I will...
In 1999.
No, it doesn't make any sense. No. Now, I will say everyone dancing and singing and having a good time to Thong Song, that played 100%. That
would still very much happen.
Yeah,
in 1999, that would 2000, that would absolutely
that
happen.
would absolutely happen. Now, yes, so Fred, I think, comes across very well. I really liked him.
I agree.
It was one of those things where I was like, I just wished the movie around him was better. I just wished for more. The movie seemed to be like a half speed for funny, a half speed for all these things. And if you had some real gusto behind it, really could have been something. But instead,
I think all in all, I enjoyed Y2K. I did not leave it angry, but I was just like, I don't remember much about it other than there's this really sweet moment where Fred goes to West Borland and he's like, it's my buddy Wes.
that was amazing.
And it was like this really sweet moment that, like, in 1999, like, I don't think Fred is ever saying my buddy Wes.
I just thought it was very beautiful, that part, and I was really living for all of that. And the thing is that when the movie gets the details right, and I would say that really a lot of the details of the first like 20 or so minutes kind of really hit it, and they do nail a lot of the fashions. There's a guy, I think he's played by the kid Leroy, at the party, and he looks like they used a time machine and went back and pulled somebody from actual 1999. It was kind of amazing.
Soccer Chris.
Yes, Soccer Chris, exactly. Which is also a good detail. You know what I mean? Like, it's right. It's almost there, but they lose the plot. And like I said, then we've got, this like white kid who loves rap talking about like real hip hop in the forest for, I don't know, ever. That just felt endless. The way that the rookie cop was to Officer Downe, that's how I felt about the white kid who likes rap in Y2K. Get him out of here.
The weirdest part is, though, that white kid that loved hip hop. Yeah, I met that kid in 1998 and 1999. Like, I knew that guy.
Oh, I knew that guy too. Yeah, 100%. But it was, I didn't need that much screen time for him.
That's true.
And like, amount of screen time.
Yeah, like, how many times have I heard of the Lyricist Lounge?
Right, exactly. And then you know what? Since the other thing about it is, why would you cast Alicia Silverstone as the mom and then give her nothing to do
except smoke some weed at the end? Yeah,
exactly. It's felt like such a missed opportunity. You've got Alicia Silverstone. You're obviously evoking something have her do something. Call me crazy. Give her something to do. Give the people in your movies something to do. Also, I will say that anytime there are movies which, like that level of apocalypse is going on, I know ostensibly it's a comedy, but I felt like there was a little bit of lack of reaction. I know I was just complaining about, you've killed the best friend, and then we got to go and talk to his mom at the end, But it did feel sometimes like there would be like something truly horrific would happen, and they'd be like, ah! And then something truly horrific would happen, and they'd be like, sad. And I was like, I don't know, which one is it? Is it going to be a splatter time, or is it going to be like a sad time? And it just felt like a real tonal mess. So But I will say Fred came across great. And
I will say though
yeah.
that like it was the least favorable lighting to Fred. Like he looked like I've met him in person and he didn't look as old as he looked in that fucking movie.
I think that they were trying really hard to make him seem younger by doing some makeup effects. And I think they did some other like digital smoothing. But yeah, it just made him look
Very
uncanny
old.
valley. Yeah, it made him look
Yeah.
older. Yeah, it was
Same with
yeah.
Wes. Wes looked touched up. I was like, I see pictures of Wes every day. You know what I mean?
We do see pictures of Wes every day. That is what the algorithm has done. Yeah.
So it's like he does not look like a grizzled old man. I mean, yeah, he's in his 50s now. So like
yeah,
he's older. We're all older.
We're all older. It's very true.
I felt overall I enjoyed Y2K. I would never suggest Y2K. I thought Fred was the saving grace of Y2K.
Mm-hmm.
Killing the friend is because when you bring him back at the end to sing the thong song, it's like, where were you in this movie? We needed you. You were the most exciting part of this film.
Yeah, and yet they killed you off. It made no sense. It didn't make any sense to me. So yeah, so those are the two films that we watched for this section of Side Project Summer. All right, Matt, you know what? Let's cap off this episode and talk a little bit about music.
Music.
We're going to talk a little bit about music. So, Matt, a lot of news around the world. There's been more band shakeups, I feel, in the last couple of months than you've seen anywhere. For one, if you're a drummer in a band,
watch your ass.
Watch out, because you could be gone any minute now. Foo Fighters, The Who, Lamb of God just kicked a guy out. In Flames, I think, kicked a guy out. It's on and on. Oasis just swapped out a drummer. It's no good for drummers out there right now. They're all just getting booted around. But then on top of that, a band that we've talked about on the show before, I Prevail.
Yeah, buddy.
They just had leave. You never know how it's supposed to go. Their clean vocalist, whose name I should have up here, but I don't because I closed the tab. Hold on. Brian Burkheiser. He did the clean vocals in I Prevail. He left the band. Now, longtime Roach Riders and Indigo Angels will know that we were sent a song by this band, by I Prevail, who are Michigan boys, we should mention.
Yeah.
And that song was called Body Bag.
We liked it.
We liked it a lot, but I did say in the episode that when the Smooth Boy vocals came in, I said, I don't know if I love that so much. And I made some comments to the effect of maybe they should remove him, or can we get him out of there? To which you and Jenny were like, yeah, maybe we'll just kick out this guy we made this band with for so many years. Well, they finally did.
Yep.
So he's out.
And you don't believe in the power of prayer, Lauren.
Oh,
How dare you? How dare you when it's so obvious that miracles happen every day, Lauren?
Now, I will say that according to the Wikipedia, they parted ways with him on good terms, okay? Mere days later, they released a new single without him called Violent Nature.
Yes.
Have you heard this, Matt?
Yes, I did. I took a listen to it because it was like big time in our feed. Okay. You took a listen to it.
Sure did.
Would you like to take a listen to it now?
Let's do it.
All right. Here's Violent Nature. Come on.
Matt, I have no notes. You did it. You did it. We're dropping F-bombs. We're telling people to swallow razors. We're screaming. Not a smooth boy in sight.
No.
This is and then just crusher drops with some little needlies. It's what you want. I feel like they got this thing done. And normally, they're like, maybe we should play it for some people. And I'm like, no.
Nah, we're ready to launch.
Ready to launch. I can't see a single person in the entire world having a problem with that song. They nailed it. They knocked it out of the park. They have prevailed.
They prevail?
They prevail. They really did it. So I really enjoyed that. I'm very excited to see. I mean, True Power, their last record came out in 2022. So now is
just
the
time.
time. It's time. So I'm very excited to see what they do. And yeah, these boys are from Southfield.
What?
They're from Southfield.
Wow.
I
Did
know,
not know
right?
that.
I know, right? It's funny because anytime I've driven through Southfield, Michigan, it's funny to think of Southfield as a place where someone could live. You know what I mean? I could see where you could work at an office park in Southfield, you know, or maybe you went to see a film at the now shuttered Star Southfield. But the idea of living there, growing up there, that's new to me. But yeah, I'm excited to see what I Prevail do next now that it sounds like they're all heat. And yeah, I'm hyped. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do
2025, it's your
it.
year. It's your year. Prevail. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Roach Koach. Thank you so much for listening. Keep on saying hello to us online: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky. We're on all of those. Send us an email, roachcoachpodcast@gmail.com. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/roachcoachpodcast. The crack is coming. You do not want to miss it. And until next time, Matt, thank you.
Lauren, thank you.